Who am I? I'm Stan Straczynski. My job is to examine computer equipment involved in crimes for the police department. I spend my days sifting through millions of bytes of mundane data looking for some clue, an email, a file, something that will reinforce a prosecutor's case. I'm one of those behind-the-scenes guys who do the legwork so the real detectives can solve the case and take all the glory. But hey, it's a living.
Following procedure, I have documented the hardware specifications of Article 13. The hard drive seems to be encrypted with a third-party software. Recovery through brute force seems unrealistic. I've already tried a few dictionary attacks.
Straczynski, what do you got on the evidence for my case?
Detective Garrett, I didn't expect anyone would. That's a complete list of hardware specs. The hard drive seems to be encrypted with a third-party software. I'm not sure if I'll be able to decrypt it. I need a password to get in. It's nearly impossible to crack without it.
Encrypted? I thought you were supposed to be some kind of whiz kid, Straczynski, here to help fight cybercrime. Look, I need a lead on this case, and I think there may be something important in that computer. So either find me something or your cushy office job here will be on the line.
Maybe if you could give me some details about the case, I might be able to figure out the password. People aren't smart enough to make their passwords very strong. They usually make their password the name of a loved one or a hobby.
Straczynski, do I need to remind you again that you are not a police detective? You're here to do one thing and one thing only. Pull the information off this computer so that I can analyze it.
Well, at least we understand each other now.
The stupid git. In his blustery exit, Detective Garrett had mistakenly left the case file for the murder to which this computer was evidence. The murder in question had occurred 2 nights before. The victim's name was Dan Wilson, a 21-year-old male. He was murdered in his living room in front of this computer. 3 bullets in the chest. Ballistics report says a Beretta. No witnesses. The upstairs tenant was at home during the time, but didn't hear a thing. No struggles, no screams, no gunshots. The only evidence? The man's computer. I had managed to give myself an extra day with Garrett by reassuring him that the password recovery program I was running would take some time. He threatened to call in the state crime lab, but I knew the glory he was seeking by solving this case on his own would force him to keep things local. At least for a while. If only I could get a fix on who Wilson was, I might catch a clue to the password I needed. The background on Wilson in Garrett's file was sketchy. Wilson was a nobody. He was practically a recluse. None of his neighbors seemed to know anything about him. I knew I had to get into the crime scene and look around for something that Garrett would have missed. Delphine Renard. She was Wilson's upstairs neighbor, the one who didn't hear anything. At first, when she caught me looking in Wilson's windows, I thought I was done for. Then I caught a lucky break. For some reason, she thought I was Garrett's partner, Archer.
So, Miss Renard, you didn't know Dan Wilson very well?
No, not really, Detective Archer. I just moved in about 2 months ago, and aside from introducing myself when I moved in, I never really talked to him.
And the night of the murder, you didn't hear anything? No tussling? No gunshots?
I already talked to Detective Garrett about this. I wear earplugs when I'm trying to sleep. I didn't hear a thing.
Something in my gut told me not to believe her. Somewhere in the back of my mind, an analytical tinker was telling me she had something to do with all of this. But strangely, I found myself drawn in by her eyes. Her seductive eyes. It was as if I was racing down a mountainous road at breakneck speeds, knowing I was going to be able to make the corner when it came. But damn it, I didn't care. I wanted to protect her.
So, what do you do?
You know, there were some things I didn't tell Detective Garrett about.
Oh, really?
Yes, he kind of frightened me. Well, Detective Garrett, I mean, he kind of frightened me the same way that...
It's okay, Miss Renard. You can tell me. You can tell me anything.
He frightened me the same way that Dan Wilson did.
As she continued, the story started to unfold. A creepy tale. The story of a perverted man who would obsess about the innocent young creature that moved into his life and lived above him. A tragedy of a woman who had to live her life under the twisted glare of a degenerate. She tried to laugh his advances off, but his diabolical abilities gave him some sort of psychological hold on her. He had left hints for her that suggested that at any time he chose he could act, and she would be powerless to stop him. My gut had been right. She just gave me her motive. Why she opened up to me, I don't know. She must have seen something in me to make her think I could help her, protect her, and God help me, that's what I intended to do. Wilson's computer held the key. The proof of what a sick stain he was. That was her only hope now. Proof that she feared for her life. That she had to take matters into her own hands. And I was the only man who could help her.
I'll do what I can to help, Miss Renard.
Please, Detective Archer. My friends call me Delphi.
I knew what Dan Wilson's password was. The name of that which he craved. Delphi. I immediately started searching through the files on his computer, searching for proof that justified her single violent action. It was after midnight when I caught a break. Log files showed him connecting right about the time of his death to a remote proxy service, something that would allow him to remain anonymous as he searched. And then it popped into view. A glorious mix of glamour and smut. It catered to a shadowy clientele yearning for the most extreme forms of entertainment. That which shouldn't be caught on film, but was. It promised to satiate the voyeur's unnatural desires. For a price. Always for a price. It was the proof I needed to protect her.
Straczynski, I was wondering when you'd show up.
Detective Garrett, where's,
Ms. Renard? That is a very good question, and one I was hoping you might be able to help answer.
What? Why would I?
Cut the crap, Straczynski. I've had you tailed. I know what you've been up to, playing detective. I know she talked to you, and I know she did it. I always knew she did it.
But you didn't have any evidence and no motive.
You're through, Straczynski. And not only are you through, I'm going to put you away alongside that little vamp. Put you away so long you'll never see the light of day.
Oh, I don't know about that. You didn't have any evidence, and you still don't without me. So if you want my cooperation, you better back off. You're right. She talked to me. Just me. Besides, I thought it was kind of strange that you left your case file when I first talked to you. You set me up.
We may make a detective of you yet, Straczynski.
We're not finding anything here. Doesn't look like anybody's lived here for months.
Great! I knew we should have taken her in when we had the opportunity. You remember my partner, Archer. He was supposed to question Ms. Renard a couple of days ago.
But I got pulled into a missing persons case. Some guy went for a walk. Bloodless corpse turned up 2 days later. Wife 8 months pregnant. This is some business, huh?
So instead of Archer here, Miss Renard meets with our fledgling detective Straczynski instead.
So if you knew what was going on, Detective Garrett, why didn't you have someone watching her?
She was being watched. I was watching her.
After we left the cafe, Delphi had somehow managed to give Garrett the slip. She must have known he was tailing us. I decided I had to try and make my case for her. I told Garrett and Archer the story, as she had related it to me. How Dan Wilson had stalked her to the point where she felt she had to protect herself. It was self-defense, plain and simple. I told Garrett what she told me, but I don't think he believed me. Then I told him that I cracked Wilson's password and accessed his computer. I told him about the website. He sent me home and told me not to leave town. I had a chance to look again at the depraved bazaar of blood and desire that Dan Wilson was viewing when the bullets entered his body. Pythia.com. Pythia. That was a strange name. Quickly I searched for its meaning. It was a mythological reference. Pythia was the name of the Greek god Apollo's oracle at Delphi. There was something new here, something that the shadowy anathemas of this black market underworld could view here and nowhere else for the right price. Webcam footage of a real-life murder. Dan Wilson's murder.
Hello, Stan.